If I'm learning to shoot, you are going to find me right there at that desk, which is where I spend the majority of my work life, whether it's editing or answering emails or doing Zoom calls or all the fun stuff you get to do as a freelancer. In this video, what I wanted to do is just share with you some of the things that I just absolutely cannot live without when I am spending hours upon hours at this desk. So let's cut right to it and talk about the first thing, which is my chair. I personally have the Mira 2 from Herman Miller. It's super comfortable, and at the end of a long editing session, I just don't feel fatigued or sore. So definitely not the most exciting thing to purchase, but it makes such a difference. So don't skip out on a good chair if you don't have one already. Next up is my M1 Max MacBook Pro. Obviously, I can't do any of the work without a computer, so this is super important. I've got it fully spec'd out, except for storage, which I just ended up going with the 4 terabyte option, and it's great to have just that much space because I can usually edit a single project with that 4 terabytes, and then I'll just dump it all onto my external hard drives, which are connected to the Thunderbolt dock, which is the next thing on my list. The Thunderbolt dock just allows me to be able to connect all my peripherals to my MacBook, such as my monitor and hard drives and card readers and audio and all that good stuff. Now, speaking of audio, I actually have 2 audio sources to monitor my audio. First, I have the AirPod Max, and the reason why I use these is because I'm actually sharing this space with my wife, and she works from home most of the time. So when I'm editing a project, I can be on my AirPod Max and not distract her while she's on her Zoom calls or doing work and all that good stuff. And then if she goes into the office or just decides to work in a different part of the house, then I'll take those off and use my studio reference monitors, which are the JBL LSR 305s. Now, they're kind of an eyesore and they're kind of big and bulky, but they sound really good, and I do think it's really important to monitor and listen to your edit through not just headphones but studio monitors as well, because it may sound a little different between the two, and it's just a good way of making sure that my mix sounds the way I want to on multiple devices. Now, I'm actually going to skip the monitor I'm using. It's a BenQ monitor, but I'm actually going to skip that because it's I think it's finally seen the last of its days and I need to replace it, so I don't want to put too much emphasis on the monitor. But what I do want to talk about is what's actually on top of that monitor, which is the LumeCube monitor light bar, and they're actually the sponsor of today's video. Now, I've actually seen a lot of videos on YouTube about desk setups and everything, and everybody seemed to have this light bar on their monitor, and I just thought, like, there's no way it could make that much of a difference. Well, I was wrong. I immediately saw a difference when I mounted this on my monitor. The lighting in this room is actually not that great, and there's not much light to speak of in this room. Even natural light, like there's a big window right here, but it's right next to a house and there's a big tree covering it, so not a lot of light actually spills through it. So if it's an overcast day or it gets into the night, my desk actually gets super dark, and this monitor light perfectly lights up my workspace when editing, but it doesn't actually shine on my eyes or on the monitor, and it tremendously helps with eye strain. The other great thing about this light is it's really easy to control. You can actually control with a little dial on the side of the light, or with the included wireless control dial that turns it on and off, controls the light output, as well as the CCT, since this is a bi-color light. LumeCube were actually kind enough to send me the Pro Workspace bundle, which includes the monitor light, the wireless control dial, as well as this edge light, which is great to work as a desk lamp or even as a little added fill or even as your key light for Zoom calls. And I have a small suspicion that it's not going to live on my desk for very long because my wife keeps eyeing it, and I have a feeling it's going to end up on her desk, which, you know, it's fine. Now, last up is my keyboard, which is the Apple Magic Keyboard, and I got this really specifically for 2 reasons. The first reason is the Touch ID. Since I keep my MacBook closed when it's at my desk, I wanted a way to still be able to use the Touch ID, so this keyboard was really the obvious solution. And the second reason is the fact that it is wireless, and for me, this is huge because the more cables that I can eliminate from my workspace and from my kind of peripheral field of view, the better, because clutter and disorganization like really stresses me out and honestly like prohibits productivity and creativity for me. So Having a wireless keyboard is really nice. The only time I really need to run a cable to it is if I need to charge it up, but the battery lasts quite a while, so I don't have to do that very often. And those are pretty much the main things that are absolutely essential to my workspace, but I'd love to hear from you about what is most important to you in your workspace, so leave that down in the comments below. Well, that's all I have for this video. I hope you found it helpful or useful. I'll leave some links down in the description below to help you navigate to find any of these things that may have piqued your interest. Appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.